Twisted Humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked. Welcome to episode 106 of this podcast. This is my episode. It is a cult episode. I'm super excited. But before we get started, we have to give a special shout out and thank you to our newest patron, Natasha. Welcome.
Welcome, Natasha. Thank you so much.
There are so many things on our Patreon feed right now that you are going to just love and spend a lot of time catching up on. So let us know once you get through it all.
Yeah, no kidding. Is it like daunting that we say there's hundreds of bonus episodes ready for you? It's like, who has time for that? Who has time for hundreds?
Right?
But
hope you have a long road trip coming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Sierra was just talking about. That's the only time she gets to indulge in lots of content is when she's on road trips. And 10 hours to Cincinnati is one of them.
It is.
Is it 10 hours? It's 10 hours.
It is 10 hours.
Yeah, that's a long drive. And I can't believe you ever do it by yourself. God damn it, woman.
I do it, yeah. And in one weekend this past time.
That's insane. That's like more
I left
time
on a
driving
Thursday
than it is there, I feel like.
Well, yeah, I left on a Thursday. I went on a Thursday and I left on a Sunday. So I was there Friday and Saturday. That was it.
Aw.
I got there at midnight Thursday night and I left at 5 a.m. Sunday morning. So
that's a lot of driving.
Good
for you. You're a trooper.
Gotta see my family sometimes.
Yeah. So join our Patreon and binge a bunch of bonus episodes for your next
Join our
trip.
Patreon and go on a road trip. Do you have a fun fact for me today?
I do. Also, I apologize if anyone hears outside noises. I'm dying of heat, so I have my back door open. That is the wall behind me when we record. But deal with it, guys. The sun is shining. We're drinking a very fruit salady sangria. It's meant to be, okay? So my fun fact is about the color pink because I'm wearing a pink summer dress and I'm feeling real girly, so why not? So pink is a light red hue and is typically associated with love and romance. It's often described as a feminine color, perhaps due to the associations during early childhood, girls' toys, or boys' toys. However, it comes from the fact that women are typically the more loving and affectionate type, so it's become a feminine hue over the years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I can see it.
So wear your pink summer dresses, guys. Be all lovey.
I don't like to wear pink very much.
I don't either. I like
sometimes
to wear this
certain
pink.
shades. Yeah, certain shades of pink.
Because it makes me look like I have more color to my skin than I really do.
Right.
It's just a trick is really what it is. But
yeah.
What is
my
your
fun fact? My fun fact today is about the spiked tail of the dinosaur who has a spiked tail. So I wasn't gonna. It's a stegosaurid. Is the name of the dinosaur. I wasn't really going to try and pronounce
the descriptor of this. Yeah, because we all know what you're talking about, but we're like, is there more?
So the spiked tail is called a thagomizer.
Oh, that sounds horrifying.
And it got this name by a cartoonist named Gary Larson, who did a comic making fun of paleontologists and how they name things. And in the comic, it shows, like, basically a caveman pointing at the spiked tail of a live dinosaur. And it says, now this end is called the Thagomizer, after the late Thag Simons. And before this cartoon was drawn, there was no name for the spiked tail of a stegosaurid. But after the comic, the scientific community just accepted it and started calling it the Thagomizer.
That's so funny. So they ran with the joke.
They just ran with it.
I love that. You know what? If people are going to make fun of you, lean in.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's fun, for sure.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. Well, let's face it. Ross Geller is very easy to make fun of. Classic paleontologist, so. I guess it makes sense.
Definitely.
Oh, that's funny. I like it. I always wonder who gets to be in charge of naming things. Me and Kevin were talking about this the other day. He's like, who decided it was called a murder of crows? Who decided it was a gaggle of geese? Like, who gets to choose this? I'm like, I don't know, but I would really like to be at the next meeting.
Yeah, I feel like they're chosen so loosely. Like, kind of anyone could just be like, I declare. But it's always funny to me when one thing is chosen and then another thing seems like it was chosen because of that one thing. So, like,
but
the murder of crows, for instance. A murder of crows, and then someone was like, wow, you're going really dark with it. Let me name this raven that looks identical to a crow a kindness, just to combat your murder. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
This is weird.
That is
a kindness of ravens, a murder of crows.
I saw the cutest little crow the other day. I tried to make friends with it. It was not interested. Outside of Dairy Queen. That's very random. But Kevin was like, it's a normal size crow. I'm like, no, he's so little. And he's like, are you sure he's not just hanging out with a bunch of ravens? And I was like, I don't know. He looked really small to me.
Oh my
He's really cute. He was not interested in my French fries, though.
Yeah.
And that's my story. Most boring story ever.
You gotta make friends with them at your house.
I know.
So that they'll keep coming back.
You know what? That's what he said. I was like, when we have a backyard, I'm going to put stuff out there for crows. I'm going to have crow friends. He's like, no. Why do you want to make friends with every animal in the neighborhood?
Yes.
He's like, you know you're going to have to just clean up its poop. And, like, it's going to throw sticks everywhere and make a mess. And I was like,
no, it'll bring you shiny things.
Yeah. I don't know. I got to sell them on the bat box first before I can...
You guys don't have a bat box yet?
No, not at my deck. No. There's no.
Why would you have to sell him on that? That is the most
guano.
It's just like having a what?
Poo. Bat poop.
Yeah, but it's just like having a birdhouse, a bird feeder.
He doesn't like those either. Don't even get me started. I know. Don't even get me started because he says it makes a mess. But guess who cleans the deck? I do. So it only affects me.
The birds will eat it. Who cares?
Well, no,
I
on
never
our deck,
clean
it's like
my bird feeder
area. Where we walk, so it gets like stuck to our socks and stuff. So I do have to clean, like sweep it up. Because it's not like grass, right? If it was grass, I wouldn't care. It would just sit there. Probably grow some seeds. Actually, that did happen in my little flower beds that I have. It was like the seeds from the bird feeders were starting to sprout, and I was like, "What the fuck are these?"
Yeah.
What are these little weeds? But no, Kevin is very against it, guys. Please at him. Tell him he's ridiculous. Did you just spill?
Just candy.
Oh, okay. I thought you knocked your sangria over. I was like, why are you so calm right now?
No, I knocked my candy tower over.
Well, that's sad too.
I'm annoyed with these bookshelves because they're really deep. And like on one hand, I'm like, oh, if I have any really wide books, it's cool, but most books are not really wide.
Forward. Yeah,
I know, but they're all slid forward and things keep falling behind them. Like my candy just did. It's really annoying.
Yeah, but next time you go to pick a book, you'll find some treasure.
Unless it melts on my books.
Oh, that's true.
It's my...
Your Ferrero Rocher? I thought you annihilated that already.
Oh, no way. I just eat a little at a time.
You have more discipline than I do. And speaking of discipline, I have no discipline against the sangria. It is delicious.
That was a very trying
as per all of my segues.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad I didn't spill my sangria, though.
Listen. Mine needs to be a mind map to get there.
Your sangria is way redder than mine. Mine is way oranger.
I shook up my berries. I don't know.
You have blackberries in yours. That's what happened.
Well, because I used frozen berries. I cheated because they're expensive. But yes, and then I shook them up to like quickly diffuse the juices.
Yeah.
I got all the berries in there.
Yeah.
All the citrus.
It
but
is
delicious.
Delicious. I made mine in a pitcher that I was going to pour into drinks, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just put a straw in the pitcher.
Smart.
You know? Who cares?
Why not? Save time.
It is the Sutter Homes Moscato that we had last week, mixed with lime juice, orange juice, tequila, triple sec, pineapple juice, limes, oranges, strawberries, and raspberries, and kiwi.
Delicious.
It is so good.
It tastes like literal juice. I'm going to be honest, I did not put tequila in mine because I'm getting over a really bad sickness, and I did not think that my stomach could handle tequila. But it is
Well, I
very
did
good.
put tequila
Nick
in mine,
Jonas
and I
tequila?
cannot taste it at all. Yes,
well,
Nick Jonas
that's
tequila.
That's why, because it's Nick Jonas tequila. Any other tequila, you'd probably be able to taste.
It's really, really good. I love this sangria.
I would definitely rate it. I don't know. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I'm enjoying
Me
drinking
too.
it.
This is a 10 out of 10.
It's like the perfect 20-degree weather, sitting on the patio.
Exactly. When I found this, it told me it was a springtime sangria.
And it is.
First of all, the colors are fucking beautiful for springtime. It tastes like springtime. It's just fucking perfect. I love it. 10 out of 10.
Love it. I'm with you. I'm excited to eat my fruit out of there afterwards. While you're telling me your story, I have my fruit fork.
Yeah, I actually brought a plastic fruit fork so I didn't make clanky noises.
Oh, well, I mean, we've got to stagger our noises. I'll make the clanky noises. Your chair makes the farty noises. It's fine. We're just here for it.
Yeah.
But seriously, so good. I'm enjoying it. I've got my bone straw in there. You got to have your reusable straws.
Mm-hmm.
So, cheers. Episode
Cheers.
106.
Before we get into my cult story today, we are going to take a little quick break to hear a promo from CK and GK podcast. Be right back.
It's Tuesday. Or maybe it isn't, but Tuesday is about to be your favorite day of the week.
You bet. She's Jenny.
And she's Caitlin. We're teachers, we're moms, we're friends, and we're funny.
I mean, I certainly think we are.
We're here to teach you what we had to learn and maybe save you some of the embarrassment.
Absolutely. We discuss all topics from the serious to the silly. Things like how to improve your resume and cover letter, advocating for yourself when talking to your doctor, what to expect when you're getting Botox, or how to wash your face at night.
And we can help you participate in that water cooler chat about sports and world events. And if you're feeling like your life is a mess, don't worry. We can relate.
Yeah, we're not afraid to tell you all the mortifying and hilarious things about our own lives, professionally or personally.
We're shameless. We're rated G. We're slightly crazy. Come hang with us.
It's the CK and GK podcast. New episodes drop every Tuesday, everywhere you listen. Have you laughed today?
Okay.
Tell me
Are
a
we
story.
ready for this?
No, because it's a cult and I'm scared and I'm
It is a
thinking you've
cult.
run out
It
of
is scary.
happy cults.
I have run out of happy cults.
Damn it.
Okay.
It's a good
So-
thing the sangria is delicious.
It is. According to the Wikipedia page for cults, quote, in modern English, cult is a term for a relatively small group that excessively controls its members who share a set of acts and practices which require unwavering devotion, who are considered deviant outside the norms of society, and who are typically led by a charismatic and often self-appointed leader, end quote. Today's episode is about a small group of people who share a set of practices led by its controlling, charismatic leader, blah, 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 everything I just said.
Today's episode brought to you by cults.
Yes. On the surface, though, this might not seem like a cult, but as the violence happens and secrets are revealed, it will sound more and more cult-like. That's why I'm doing it as a cult.
That's how they get you. That's how they get you into the group. Like, there's no violence, there's no murder, everything's happy.
Yes, everybody is thriving.
Yeah.
Last year around this time, I did a bonus episode on our Patreon feed about the quote-unquote street kids of Brazil.
No, why do we keep
It was
going
a
back to this?
terribly sad story, and it was hard to hear about the experiences that so many kids have to live through because of the circumstances that they're born into. But I told that story with this story in mind. I was looking into this story, found details about that one, and thought that that one was the one that needed to be told first. I plan to tell
wondering
this
when
one
this
right
was coming.
after. I planned to tell this one right after, but that one was so hard on me mentally that it took a while for me to come back to the topic.
Fair.
Some of you will have that story in mind as I tell this one, but it's not needed if you're not a patron, so don't worry. Just know that this sort of cult is based in Brazil, in an area where the kids are not safe living out on the streets and without people taking care of them.
It's a good thing I have chocolate cream eggs. God damn it, I already know I'm gonna cry.
Hopefully not. I tried to tell it in a way that as mad as you'll get about the circumstances, I don't think it'll be super sad.
Okay. I know that is a French press, but it looks like you're just drinking a pitcher of sangria, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Today's story starts with a woman named Flordelis dos Santos de Souza,
Beautiful name.
who was born in Rio de Janeiro in 1961. This area of Brazil was talked about in my Patreon story, but to put it in Flordelis' own words, guns and death were very common. Sometimes rivaling gangs shot at each other through crowds of innocent bystanders.
Oh my god.
Sometimes the police would come charging through neighborhoods and homes with guns drawn, shooting at criminals. And oftentimes, you'd see a dead body on the side of the road. Flordelis grew up in this city where she watched kids getting hurt or growing up to be in those gangs or to be criminals who would eventually get hurt, and she wanted to do something about it. By the early 1990s, at the age of 30, Flordelis had been married and divorced and had 3 children of her own to look after. She didn't want her children to have to grow up with the violence around them the way that she did, and so she decided that she had to help the next generation of children to grow up and be better people.
Aww.
She bought an arcade game, the only non-violent thing she ever saw kids do, and she put it in her house. Then she went around the neighborhood and told all the kids that anyone was allowed in her home to play this arcade game whenever they wanted to for free. Kids started to come over and hang out frequently.
I'm nervous.
One of those kids was a 14-year-old boy named Anderson, who began dating Flordelis' daughter, Simone. Another was a 12-year-old boy named Wagner, who enjoyed the lectures Flordelis gave on God and the songs that she sang about evangelical Christianity whenever they were playing the arcade.
This is starting so wholesome. I'm so nervous.
Both of these boys had families, but they enjoyed hanging out at Flordelis' home and eventually moved in with her, along with 35 other children. Some homeless and some from homes they didn't care to go back to. Flordelis went under scrutiny for a while in the 90s because some of the children's real families accused her of kidnapping their kids. But after Brazil's equivalent of Child Protective Services got involved, they found that Flordelis was giving these children a good home, taking care of them, and they actually wanted to be there. Mm-hmm. So she was granted custody of all 37 children.
What?
She became known...
Actual custody. Wow.
Mm-hmm. She became known as the Mother of Brazil, and she allowed other children to come and stay with her if they ever needed to. My dog is barking. Eventually, she had a total of 55 children that she was the guardian of.
At what point is the government like, that's too many children,
right?
though? Like,
55
where do we draw the
kids.
line?
Anderson and Wagner were special to Flordelis. Anderson actually broke up with her daughter Simone because he fell in love with Flordelis. At first, it was probably just a weird crush, but by the time Anderson was 17, he and Flordelis had started a romantic relationship, with him playing the father to all the children.
Ew.
And at 21, Anderson married 37-year-old Flordelis, who was once his mother.
Yeah, it's weird. I was trying to find a way around it, but it's weird.
It's weird. Wagner, the other special boy, said that this marriage was sort of inevitable. Flordelis had started her own little church in the garage of the home she owned. called the Ministry of Flordelis, because she had too many children to haul them all to church. And she mentioned to the family...
All 57 of them, or whatever.
Right. And she mentioned to the family that she would need someone to step up and take the role as the father. In an evangelical Christian church, the woman or the mother is supposed to have a man or the father standing beside her as she praises God. Anderson was the one who stepped up to that role, willingly, of course, because of his crush. Wagner, though, was probably a second or third choice to her based on how special she said he was. She actually renamed him, started calling him Misael, and told him that she was an angel sent from heaven to save the children of Brazil, and that he was her spiritual son, also sent to earth from God to help carry out her mission. He once had a good relationship with his own parents. Yeah. But after spending time with Flordelis, he began to think that his parents weren't his real parents, just the people who birthed him, and that he was actually meant to be the child of Flordelis. As time went on, a few other adopted children were considered very special to Flordelis as well. These were Carlos, Andre, and Fabio. Carlos and Andre never admitted it, but Fabio confirmed that he and the other two often had sexual relations with Flordelis if she wanted them to.
No.
She was the one that they worshipped and loved, after all. She was also the one who demanded respect from the home, once threatening to mess up their faces with the high heel of her shoe if they didn't respect her.
Okay. No. I covered a lady that did that. Threatened her stiletto. Listen, women's fashion should not be used to threaten children, guys.
Right? Respecting her wasn't a hard decision because she was also the one who made all of the money. As the church's owner, money in the form of donations was coming in. At the church, she sold CDs of her gospel music. In 2004, her loving yet very young husband, Anderson, convinced her to run for congresswoman, and she was elected. In 2009, a documentary was done about her selflessness in adopting homeless children. And then right after that, an actual record label picked up her gospel music, and she was an actual singer celebrity.
Wow. Okay, am I allowed to look it up, or am I going to spoil it? I want to hear it.
Look it up on YouTube, not on Google. Because if you look it up on Google, it might spoil it. But just look up, like, Flordelis. It's Flordelis. Flordelis music or something.
Okay. Yeah, she's got a pretty voice.
Flordelis' husband Anderson and her adopted son Misael, being the first and most trusted favorite men in her life, were the ones who took care of all the finances. But of course, they were very loyal to Flordelis and only spent money the way she wanted them to. Despite all the subtle abuse, Flordelis' family was very happy for many years. Or most of them were, anyway. Misael spoke of a sort of division among the home. There was a group A, which consisted of Flordelis' biological children, grandchildren, and her favorite adopted children. They were the ones who were always in the videos and in nice clothes and getting their hair done up nice. And then there was group B, which consisted of adoptees that were less loved by Flordelis.
Oh, no. This is not okay.
Because they were less loved by her, they loved her even more because they longed for her acceptance and her love.
Oh, my heart.
In 2018, Flordelis started to tire of her husband.
Oh, God.
He was a little too controlling of the money. The children were respecting him as much as they were respecting her. And Anderson was starting to feel like her equal. At least this is the way that others saw the situation.
Good God.
Flordelis began texting her closest children about Anderson. She told Andre that she couldn't stand Anderson and that she needed him to be taken out because he was a scumbag. She literally used the words,
Scumbag.
I'm begging you.
Oh.
And scumbag, yes.
Oh, okay. Those were direct quotes.
Yes, those
Okay.
were direct quotes, yes.
Jesus.
Around the same time, Flordelis' biological daughter had been searching on the internet for how to buy cyanide and for food with cyanide in it. Misael had moved out to live with his wife, but some of his siblings warned him not to eat the food in the house if he decided to visit, because someone was trying to poison Anderson. Anderson had been to the emergency room 6 times that year for abdominal pain, nausea, and headaches, all symptoms of slow poisoning. But he was still alive, and he very much loved and trusted his wife. He didn't suspect at all that he was being poisoned. He didn't even believe that anything was amiss when he found messages on Flordelis' cell phone. In March of 2019, Anderson showed Misael messages from Flordelis to their adopted son Lucas, saying that she would pay to have Anderson killed. But if anyone ever accused Flordelis of trying to harm Anderson, he would get mad at them for trying to cause a fight. He just could not believe that she would ever do that to him.
But, like, I can't imagine being in a marriage where you would think that it is possible for something like that to happen.
But
You know?
even faced with proof,
I know, but
Like-
being in a situation where something could happen and you're like, oh, yeah, that checks out. Like, that's reasonable. Like, wouldn't you always want to be in denial that your significant other could possibly be murdering you?
for
Proof
sure.
or no proof? Like,
I mean,
that's just what worries
for
me
sure-
when they're like, yep, this is...
Yeah, I mean, I for sure would be like, if like 1 or 2 people told me something like that, I'd be like, you guys are really dramatic. But if I went to the hospital 6 times and then found messages on their phone saying, I want this person dead, I'd be like, okay, maybe I should question it a little. I have been to the
Jesse,
hospital 6
stop
fucking
growing
times.
nightshade in your guys' backyard. Okay, it's a problem now.
Then on June 16th, 2019, around 4 a.m., a phone call was placed to 911, and Anderson was brought to the hospital by a few of his sons. Anderson was declared dead at the hospital with 30 gunshot wounds on his body.
Oh, not poisoned. Okay.
Police were then dispatched to Flordelis' home where the crime had occurred.
Oh my god.
Right away, Congresswoman Flordelis did a press conference letting the world know. I mean, she is still Congresswoman.
I forgot about this whole
Yes.
time. I'm like, this bitch.
Yes. Letting the world know that her beloved husband had been murdered in what appeared to be a robbery gone wrong. However, the police were quickly suspicious of this.
All robbers that I know of release 36 bullets. That
In
isn't wrong,
Flordelis' story of events, she and Anderson went out for a date night. She loved to get away with him because the home was always so full of children. She said that they had a wonderful night, stopped off at a beachy area just to talk, and finally headed home around 3 in the morning. She mentioned that there seemed to be 1 or 2 motorcycles following them because they were keeping pace with their car, when usually in that area, motorcycles drove much faster than cars on these roads. She said that when they arrived home, they pulled in behind the house, and as she got out of the car, she called to Anderson and said, "Don't forget to close the gate." Then she went in through the garage and up the stairs. While she was upstairs, she and the rest of the family heard 6 gunshots coming from the garage. 6, not 30, just 6.
Okay. Well, 30, again, feels very unbelievably to me.
Flordelis' biological son, Flavio, went down to the garage and found Anderson lying on the ground, covered in blood. He was the one who originally called 911, but he seemed to be a little in shock on the phone and couldn't say much. So Anderson's adult grandson comes onto the phone to explain that Anderson is no longer breathing. From there, Flavio and a few of his brothers brought Anderson to the hospital, but he is dead on arrival, and also only in his underwear for some reason. I don't quite understand that. And again, there are 30 holes in his body, despite the family saying they only heard 6 gunshots. So,
Something's
whatever.
weird.
At the scene of the crime, police find at least 9 bullet casings. So the 6 is still a little weird here. They assume that maybe 9 shots were actually fired, and that the bullets ricocheted into, out of, and back into his body.
As most bullets.
Which is completely crazy to me. Like, huh? I was thinking maybe he was shot somewhere else, as well as in the garage, but we never find that out for sure, and it's besides the point. He's dead, that's the
Your
point.
idea makes more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, I mean, maybe it went in and then out, and then hit something, and then went back in. I was like, Twisted and Uncorked will be right back. If you prefer not to listen to ad breaks, head on over to patreon.com/twistedanduncorked for more information on receiving ad-free episodes. The police looked into the motorcycle theory, and there is CCTV footage almost all the way home on Flordelis and Anderson's vehicle. But there was never a motorcycle anywhere near them on this drive. What they did see was Flordelis' adopted son, Lucas, coming home at about 3 a.m. with a backpack, and then leaving 15 minutes later without a backpack. So Lucas becomes a suspect, and they execute a search warrant on the home. While in the home, they find a gun, which is quickly tested and verified to be the murder weapon in Flordelis' biological son's room, Flavio, the one who called 911 and brought Anderson to the hospital.
Is he being set up, though? Like, wasn't this, like, I don't know. Why would...
Let me continue. Now we've got 2 suspects. Both are arrested, but there's still something weird going on. Flavio and Lucas first admit that they bought the gun together, and Flavio said that he was the one who killed Anderson because he heard that Anderson was sexually abusing his niece. Lucas, by the way, is one of the adopted children from Group B, who wanted so badly to be loved by Flordelis, but was clearly treated like an outcast.
And Flavio is Group A.
Yes, because he's Bio's son. Misael, who had moved out at least a year ago, contacted the police to let them know that he believes Flordelis had something to do with this. As soon as Flor learns that someone is accusing her, she makes a big deal of publicly talking about how much she loved her husband and how hurt she is that he's gone and how much he supported her and was her other half and how she would never want him gone. Basically, like, why would I ever kill my husband? I can't do this without him. He manages all my money. He's my other half. He's the one who got me into this congresswoman position. Blah, blah, blah.
Also,
but
that
now,
is a lot of children to deal with alone, though.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
But now police are pulling cell phone records and finding all these messages about wanting him taken out. They 100% suspect Flordelis of the murder. But the problem is that she is a congresswoman. And as a congresswoman in Brazil, she has parliamentary immunity. She cannot be arrested for any crime as a congresswoman. So the courts sent up a request to have her impeached. If she's impeached, she's no longer a congresswoman. But that could take a while. Soon after this information comes out, Flordelis brings up a letter that she said was written by Lucas in jail and mailed to her. This letter claims that Lucas is admitting to the killing and that he says he was hired by Misael to kill Anderson. Misael, her beloved son, who told police she wanted Anderson dead. But Lucas, by this time, had his employer on his side. a woman who worked at a car repair shop who was acting as sort of like a mother to Lucas, one that actually liked him. She was convincing him to stop taking the blame for Flordelis all the time and telling him that she would care for him when he got out and he didn't need Flor anymore. And so Lucas recants his earlier confession and tells the courts, look at the handwriting on that letter. You can clearly see it's Flordelis' handwriting and signature. She wrote it herself because he refused to write the letter when she asked him to.
I knew this was a setup situation.
This same woman who was finally trying to help Lucas had a bomb thrown into her yard shortly after coming forward about supporting him.
No. Is she okay?
Luckily, no one was hurt, but she was under the impression that this was a message from Flordelis, and her family had to stay out of it. But she was not deterred. She continued to fight for Lucas and for her own safety. So while Flordelis was waiting for her impeachment trial, the police gave her an ankle monitor to wear so that they could keep track of her movement, just in case. Coincidentally, nothing bad ever happened to Lucas's employer again.
So weird.
So weird. In the meantime, 3 of Flordelis' favorite adopted children, Carlos, Andre, and Marzi, 2 of her biological children, Adriano and Simone, and Simone's daughter, Ryan, sorry, I never know how to pronounce that, Ryan, I believe, were all arrested. Right away, Simone and Marzi admit to everything, the same way that Lucas and Flavio did before.
Okay.
Simone actually said that all of the messages from Flordelis' phone were actually from her, using her mom's phone. She said she took her phone, Flordelis' phone, and pretended to be her in order to convince the others to kill her father, who also happens to be her ex-boyfriend, if we remember.
Does anyone have their red string boards out?
Her motive, she said, was that Anderson used to come into her room in the middle of the night and molest her.
Oh.
Though many others in the home, including Misael, said that anything sexual between Simone and Anderson was very mutual. Again, they used to date. They were closer in age. I mean, they were the same age.
Yeah.
Definitely closer in age than he and Flordelis.
Yeah. His ex-mother / new wife.
Yes. His
It's
ex-girlfriend
gross.
/ new daughter. Yeah, it's weird.
It's icky. I don't like it.
Marzi also took the blame for the killing. She said that Anderson was mean to her and always accused her of stealing. So she wanted to get back at him, and she bought the gun that killed him and fronted Simone the money to hire someone to do it. Whatever they could say to keep Flordelis out of trouble. Because the issue here is that if Flordelis is impeached and arrested, there are 55 children that are used to being taken care of,
Yeah.
that are no longer taken care of.
That's hard.
They've never had jobs. They've always relied on Flordelis. They don't know how to care for themselves or for the other smaller children in the family. And being such a big family, they have a very big house that would cost a lot of money for them having no jobs.
Yeah. I always think of that. I'm thinking of that movie with Hilary Duff in it, where there's like a whole bunch of family
Cheaper by the
members.
dozen.
Yeah, that's the vibes I'm getting right now.
Yeah.
But like less happy and not Disney.
Right. So, Flordelis is just trying to keep her good name from being smeared so that she isn't impeached. She begins to change her narrative from having the perfect husband to having a husband that she didn't really realize was abusing her children. She says that she still loves him, even knowing these things now, and she hates herself for loving him. She's trying to humanize herself with the people who will vote her in or out of Congress. But right before the impeachment trial, another truth comes to light. Flordelis has a boyfriend. No one knows just how long she's had this secret boyfriend, but it's out now. And Flordelis, at now 60 years old, is dating her
Stop.
22-year-old music producer.
No. It's so much worse than I thought it was going to be. It's like 40 years.
Yeah. We'll never know if it was this or the whole murder scandal that swayed the vote, but Congresswoman Flordelis dos Santos de Souza was impeached. So from this point on, her story changes a little more. This beloved husband of hers, who sadly became known to her as a man who did bad things to her kids, but that she still loved, she now says was abusive and controlling to her as well. And in her sort of goodbye press conference speech, she used the "I am a woman and women are never treated right in Congress and government, even when they have abusive husbands" card.
Okay.
It was real gross to listen to her be like, "This is what happens when women are congressmen in this country. They hate women and they'll impeach us when our husbands are abusive. Bitch, you killed him. What are you talking about?" God.
It'd be different if it was actually a victim story, but
Yeah.
bitch, you killed him. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. I wanted to like her because she saved children, but
Did she save children or did she groom children?
That's
'Cause
more
it's
what it
kind of
feels like,
gross.
but I don't know. I don't know. Oh.
Now
I'm
that
stressed.
Flordelis is no longer a congresswoman, she has no immunity and she is arrested for the murder of her husband.
God.
And just as suspected, her family back at the house is kind of freaking out because they have no idea how to handle life without a caregiver. There's no government money, there's no concert money. People even stopped coming to the church because of Flordelis' arrest. So they have to sell off all the church's belongings, like the chairs, the music equipment, anything to make some money to pay for their lives. Flordelis' lawyer saw how hard this was on the kids, having to get rid of the things that they've known their whole lives. And she said that the best thing they could do for their mother before the trial was to make videos supporting Flordelis. I assume that this lawyer was trying to ask them for character witness type statements. But many of the daughters and granddaughters went a different way with this. Instead of giving character witness statements for Flordelis, they gave... What's the opposite of a character witness statement? A slanderous accusation.
Yeah.
Is all I could think of. They began
I was like,
telling...
is this a trick question?
And they began telling about experiences that they had in the home when Anderson would come into the room at night and touch them inappropriately. And the only person who defended them was their mother, Flordelis. Some of the girls mentioned that she would come in and yell at him and force him to get out and leave them alone. There are many issues with this. Like, first of all, how no one ever claimed he was abusive when he was alive and able to defend himself.
Yeah.
And also how no one accused him even after he died until Flordelis was arrested, and it would help her case. But mostly, it actually makes her look worse if these things did happen, and she knew about it, and she still allowed him to live there and be with her. Like... What are you doing? In any case, it didn't work. In Lucas and Flavio's trial, Lucas's part was basically just that he was brainwashed enough to bring the family the gun, which was in the backpack that he dropped off. But he was still far enough removed from them that he knew he did not want to be there when things went down, and the CCTV video showed him leaving the premises before Flordelis and Anderson got home. So, for his part in this, he received a sentence of 7 years. Flavio, on the other hand, was asked at the trial about Flordelis' involvement in the murder, and he chose to plead the fifth. He chose not to answer any further questions beyond his last interrogation, when he admitted to being the one who pulled the trigger. I think if he would have spoken up, he would have gotten a lesser sentence, but choosing to take the fall for his mother, he was sentenced to 33 years.
That's a long-ass time.
Yeah. In the trial against the others, Carlos, Andre, Marzi, and Ryan were all acquitted. They didn't have enough evidence of them doing an actual action, and also the jury believed that they were mostly brainwashed into saying that they were responsible, even though they very much wanted to take the blame for Flordelis.
Yeah.
Simone, on the other hand, blatantly confessed to buying poison and wanting Anderson dead, and so she was sentenced to 31 years. And as for Flordelis, more of those Group B adopted children, like Lucas was, saw him standing up for himself and stopped defending Flordelis. And they came forward against her as well, backing up the story that she wanted him dead because she felt threatened by his power as a man in the evangelical Christian household and church. The police were also able to determine that Flordelis gave a signal to the family the night of the murder. While she was still out with Anderson, she texted Marzi at 3 a.m. The text just said, "Marzi, call me at 8:15. She claims that this was a text... She claims that this was a request to have her daughter wake her up in the morning. But why text while she was still out instead of telling her when she got home? And why ask at all at 3 o'clock in the morning when you'd expect your child to be asleep?"
Mm-hmm.
The police believe that this was a coded message, a sort of password to Marzi, to say that they are on their way home, and so now the plan needs to be put into action. Flordelis was found guilty of murder, attempted murder, use of forged documents, and criminal association. She was sentenced to 50 years, and being 60 at the time of her sentencing, there's a high chance she will never see life outside of prison again. That is the story and the end of the cult-like behavior of Flordelis' family. Sadly, a lot of those 55 children will probably have hard lives now that they have to learn how to care for themselves. Carlos and Andre and Marzi being acquitted is helpful in that they did help take care of the small children before and can probably do so again. But at the same time, they're in such a bad headspace, wanting to literally kill for and then take the blame for killing for Flordelis.
Yeah, there's some serious psychological damage there.
Right. It makes me a little nervous about them raising children with these beliefs. But I guess it's a little more worrisome that the children be on the streets. I don't know. Let's all just hope for the best.
Yeah. Wow. I would have never heard of this story if not for you covering it, so thank you for sharing this with me and our twisted humans. Holy shit, though. Like, that's, like, soap
a minister,
opera, love,
a singer, a congresswoman,
situation gone wrong. It's like, I felt like I was watching a movie.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like, to know that this is a real fucking thing. I wanted to
like her. I didn't like her. I felt bad for the kids. I thought one of the kids was being framed. I was up. I was down. I felt all of the emotions.
Yeah.
And I feel so bad for this family.
She still claims she's innocent, but...
The one hand, it's like you're wanting to see the good in her taking these kids off the street, and then on the other hand, it's like you've put them in this situation, and now they're in a worse situation than they would have been had you never come into their lives to begin with.
Right, and some of them literally had families.
Yeah. Oh, it's so stressful. Oh. Great job, though. Great job.
Thanks. There's actually a documentary on this called Flordelis in the Name of the Mother, but it's all in Brazil. Portuguese?
Yes.
It's all in Portuguese. Even the title. Even the title is in Portuguese. It's on HBO Max if you want to watch it. There's a little more information there than I could give, but it was a crazy story.
Yeah. No kidding, hey? Well.
And the documentary, by the way, was started before she was, like, when Anderson first died, HBO was like, we want to make you're a congresswoman. Somebody killed your husband. Let us make a documentary about this. So it follows them from the very beginning.
Yeah. Interesting. Ugh. Well, if any of you guys have HBO Max and you end up watching it, let us know.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I'm very curious. Great
it's
job,
crazy.
Sierra. And no.
Right.
Just
very cult-like.
No. Those are my only opinions. No.
Yeah. I'm glad that I waited to do this, though, because the documentary just came out this year in 2023, and I wanted to cover this in 2022. Yeah. And so, since I waited, I got to see, again, her own words in some of those things. The day she was to be arrested, she hired a doctor to come to her house and do her hair, give her Botox, and give her a manicure and a pedicure, so that when her 22-year-old boyfriend visited her in prison, she would still be beautiful.
It's a bummer. Anyways, great job. We've come full circle here. Before we roll on out of here, do you have something that will give us hope?
I
something
do.
happy to share?
It is a fact about Mr. Rogers from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yes! Oh, is
he
it a
has.
good fact? I'm scared.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
It's giving us hope.
Right. This is where we are. See, I've learned to be afraid of what you tell me most of the time.
Yeah.
It was a trauma response.
Mr. Rogers has a fish, and he talked about how he had a fish on the show often, and you would often see him feeding the fish. Mm-hmm. Well, one time, Mr. Rogers got a letter from a blind girl who wrote that she had heard him say he owned a fish, but she worried that the fish weren't being fed. So at the end of every following show, every time he fed the fish, he would say, "I'm feeding the fish," just so she could hear it.
Oh,
how sweet is that?
That's so sweet.
The sweetest.
That's like a murder threat though too, like feeding the fishes. So it also makes me laugh a little bit that way. But that's very wholesome. That's very cute.
It is so cute.
I love that. Yeah. R.I.P.
Now she
Mr.
never had to
Rogers.
worry.
Yeah. No kidding. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you guys next Tuesday for a brand new episode. And don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review. And let us know if there's a case suggestion you want to hear. Send in your listener stories, all of the things. And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Twisted and Uncorked is a proud member of Weirding Way Media. Hosted and produced by Sierra Zorn and Alicia Watson. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can check out all things Twisted on our website, twistedanduncorked.com, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode.